For USCFootball.com, I'm Jack Smith alongside Chris Treviño for instant analysis of USC's Tuesday practice of the bye week. So it's a little bit more relaxed, still hot, but USC on a bye week. No game on Saturday, which means things are a little bit different, but we also talked with some players and they're still treating it as a game week. What were some of your overall takeaways of what's kind of a more lax day today?
You're right, it was hot, which is the notable thing when we do Instant Jack. There's not a cloud in the sky. But yes, it was a more relaxed feel, but I definitely wouldn't have assumed it was a bye week just having watched practice and how it was just normal, a normal practice. They were still being physical. They were still in full pads. They still did scout team work to start like they usually do on Tuesday. So everything was pretty much normal, a little more relaxed feel. Obviously, they don't have a game. But yeah, multiple players mentioned that they were treating this like it was an actual game week. They're not taking their foot off the pedal, if you will, for this season. They're still kind of building, getting a head start on ASU, but also using this time to self-scout as you do on a bye week.
Yeah, Alex Grinch was asked about it. We talked with him and Lincoln Riley, and they said, through 3 weeks, what have you seen so far, and what are you going to be teaching during the bye week? And his thought was kind of the overall consistency of the team and on the defense, kind of as it has been for the entire offseason and early on into the season. What do you have to take away from what Grinch said about that idea?
Well, for the one big thing that, USC's defense really struggled with last year was explosive plays. USC fans were tired of seeing, a third and 30-something go for a 50-yard or something like that. I'm over-exaggerating. But you know the feeling when you watch USC's defense play and that season. So explosives are a big thing, cutting down on the explosive plays. Now, obviously, USC is still giving up some explosive plays this season. But, I feel like they're better than they were, at least where they ended last year. So but that's still something you can always get better at. This defense still has to gain that trust of USC fans that they're able to stop the big play. And specifically, with the defensive backs is kind of just survive the down. If you're going to give up first down, okay, but don't give up a 30-yard play. Don't give up a 70-yard play. It's okay if you give up first down. We can live with that. You can live through the down, live through the series, but don't give up that ginormous back-breaking play that, flips momentum. That was one thing Grinch mentioned, specifically with the defensive backs.
Well, clearly the band isn't treating it like a bye week either. They're playing movie sounds, but yes, Alex Grinch was talking about that. He basically said a bad play for the defense should be just a first down. It shouldn't be a huge explosive play. So he wants them to be more consistent. If you're going to make a poor play, at least make it kind of limit the damage is I guess what he was saying. Him and Lincoln Riley were also asked about the secondary and about Domani Jackson. Both of them were kind of saying, yes, Damani's very young, of course, kind of still getting into playing a lot of football because of the injury that he suffered when he was a freshman and kind of going through that rehab process this offseason. They said, you look out there and he's made some good plays, but there's also times where you realize he's getting back to playing a lot of snaps of football. What were your thoughts about what they had to say about Jackson and the rest of the secondary?
Right. I mean, just in terms of Damani Jackson, we know how talented he is. If you came up and wanted to design a perfect cornerback in a lab, I'm pretty sure what you would get when it was all said and done. So Damani Jackson, very talented, a big fan from USC, a big fan favorite among USC fans, and they want to see him succeed well. But again, he is young, and I have to yell at this at USC fans all the time because they expect a guy to step right in and be a star from the get-go. Not everyone is Zachariah Branch. Not everyone can do that, and especially as a defender, you need time to get adjusted to that speed. And again, remember, he did not play his senior year. He was injured as a true freshman and only played limited time. This is basically his true freshman season. Let's call it what it is. Coming off the injury, shaking that rust off, he is still developing, and by around game 6, halfway through the season, is when you're really going to start to see that shift with a guy who's getting a lot of snaps. That's usually the mark for when things start to click a little bit. Game slows down a little bit. So around that 6-game mark is when we should really start to look at Damani Jackson and evaluate how he's been playing. He's done some good things, done some bad things, he's missed a couple interceptions. A lot of fans know that. But I think Damani will be all right. The reps are going to help him grow.
And during a normal week, you finish on a Saturday, they've got treatment on Sundays, maybe watching a little bit of game film, and then they immediately start on Monday preparing for the next game the next week. But with a bye week, you're able to kind of sit down, look through the first 3 tape games on film and of every player really, and work more one-on-one individually about what every player needs to work with. And Alex Grinch said on Trojans Live yesterday, they're going to try and use this time to see which guys emerge, work with some of the younger guys based off the tape that they have through 3 games. So Jackson's a guy that might benefit a lot from the bye week because instead of having to study the wide receivers from Arizona State or start to study the offensive tendencies of the next team that they're playing, they can look back at the couple games they've already played, scout themselves for a week and what they've done and improve on that, and then take next week to kind of get ready for the Sun Devils.
Yeah, I mean, bye weeks in general are big for young guys. They get more opportunity in the bye week as they're resting some of the older guys, but it is a little different this year because, the bye week is so early, so I'm wondering how they're going to balance that. I'm sure young guys are still going to get the opportunity during the bye week because you want to rest some of your bigger names. So, yeah, I would expect a lot of the young guys, this will be a big week for them to maybe say, hey, maybe, coach, I need to play a little more. Look what I'm doing this week in practice. So, yeah, big bye week, as always, is a great opportunity for some of those younger guys to get more shine and more opportunity as they rest guys.
And we didn't get a ton of interviews today. A lot of them were moved to tomorrow, so we'll have a big instant analysis for you tomorrow. Really, the last big piece of news that was talked about today, Lincoln Riley was asked how he thought they played, of course, against Stanford, and he kind of was asked, it's never really as good as you seem. It's never really as bad as it seems. Kind of what did he take away from the first half? And he said, obviously they played well, but he looks at some of the penalties and he shakes his head. And he was asked some questions about just the team's penalties in general. What did you come away with as some of the big takeaways there?
Right. USC actually is last in the Pac-12 when it comes to penalties per game at 9. So they have, there's a little bit of laundry on the field when it comes to USC and early this season through 3 games. And, remember, we think back to the spring and early in camp where Lincoln Riley was really preaching aggression for this team. And maybe we're seeing a little bit of those aggression penalties come out, and maybe you got to course correct for that. But he also is not. He's also said, let me clarify that. He's also said that penalties aren't necessarily a bad thing when you consider a team. Some of the best teams get penalties because they are aggressive, they play physical, and sometimes you're going to get that. It's football. Sometimes you're going to be a little bit over aggressive and get those penalties. What you don't want to see is those dumb penalties. Those penalties where you're being consistent. Aggression penalties, you can handle them from a time to time, whether it's a little bit too much at the playing a little bit past the whistle or something like that. But you don't want to make dumb penalties, so you got to cut those out. And again, I was actually surprised when I saw that they were actually leading the conference in number of penalties. So that is obviously something they need to work on. But again, Lincoln Riley is not a guy who's afraid of penalties, and he's said it multiple times. Good teams rack up penalties. It happens. You look at that. Just because you don't have any penalties does not make you a great team. So he's not trying to cut out all the penalties altogether. Just the ones that the dumb ones, the mistake ones, the ones that can be fixed in coaching and in the film room.
I felt like both teams on Saturday had penalties, but for Stanford, it was a lot of false starts when they were in the red zone. You had just some of those small penalties that are just like you're not paying enough attention, maybe your mind's in the wrong place at the wrong time, and then you get a penalty like that. Whereas USC's penalties, at least at certain points this season, have been a holding on a potential punt return for a touchdown, where you're just trying to get that one block to help your team. And I think USC wants to make sure that those penalties, maybe if they can refine it a little bit, that they can, but they don't want to completely cut that out because it is aggression. But those smaller things like the false starts or the delay of games, stuff that come around when guys just aren't paying enough attention or maybe they're just not thinking straight, those are the penalties they really want to correct. But did you have any other thoughts from today's practice? I know it was kind of a lighter day, being on a bye week, less newsworthy topics to talk about, but do you have any other notes?
I was interested to ask the defensive guys this, and I asked Rajon Davis and Max Williams this because it is an early bye week, and USC had such a fulfilling win over the weekend against Stanford, where their defense played really, really well, and that offense played really, really well. But mainly with the defense, do they kind of wish they were playing a game this weekend? Because they built up a lot of confidence, and you have a lot of momentum coming off that Saturday, and then to not have a game this week. Do you wish maybe you were able to keep the ball rolling and not kind of step off the gas a little bit in terms of obviously not playing a game? And no one really, kind of took that bait, if you will. They were like, it's great to have a bye week. I feel like we earned this bye week. It's still great to get healthy and rest up a little bit and, look back at what we've done through 3 games and kind of self-scout and all that. So no one really said, yeah, I wish we were playing this weekend or anything like that. They were all, they were very, what's the word I'm looking for? They were very, they stayed on topic. They didn't take my bait or anything. They just
played into their training.
Yes, exactly, Jack. They were like, nope, we love the bye week. So I did hope to get a better answer from them, but no one really said anything interesting in terms of wanting to keep that momentum rolling. So we'll see how they come out against Arizona State. I mean, Arizona State is really badly banged up. Not trying to get it too much in the preview. So maybe it's not a game where that momentum would have been. You really needed that momentum against a weaker opponent, but I would have been interested to see if they want to play more, just coming off that performance.
I think USC players know too that they want to earn a second bye week later in the year, because since they have this early one, they played in week 0, they've got a chance, if they make the Pac-12 championship game, have a bye before going into Vegas. So it would be a chance for a 2-bye season. So USC, even though they've got the bye early on, it doesn't mean that they're just screwed for the rest of the season. They will have 9 straight games against Power 5 opponents, which is the longest streak for any team in the entire country. But if they play well enough through that streak to earn a bid into the Pac-12 championship game, they will get a second bye. So and maybe that's something they can look forward to, even though this bye week comes after only 3 games.
Right, and that one, Rajon Davis said we earned this bye week after 3 weeks. The one they will earn at the end of the season, if they make it to the Pac-12 championship, will be very much deserved. With that gauntlet you mentioned, and the possibility to have that big advantage having a bye week going into the Pac-12 championship, that will be well deserved. They have to earn that one, because it's going to be quite a run that we're about to go on, Jack. So rest up.
I will. And the heat, it's bad here, but it's going to be very bad in Tempe. So we're not going to complain about the 87 degrees it was today in Los Angeles. But you're right. A week 3 bye isn't a huge advantage for any school, but USC will have a massive advantage being the only Pac-12 team that could have a bye going into that Pac-12 championship game. So we'll see if they earn that. That'll be way later in the season. We have a lot more games to get through, as well as one more bye week practice tomorrow. Connor and I will bring you instant analysis from that. But make sure you're checking out everything on the website, everything on YouTube, some of the player interviews we got today, and then the ones that we'll have there tomorrow. But for Chris Treviño, I'm Jack Smith. Check out USCfootball.com for more.